Most people don't change because they think they already know what's right, what matters, who they are. And to be fair, that's what we're taught to do. Pick a side, defend it, stay consistent. But life doesn't work like that. The longer you pay attention, the more things stop being so clear. Strong opinions soften, certainty fades, and the questions get better. Not easier, just better. Because somewhere between what you believe and what's actually true, there's a gap, and most people avoid it. That's where the work is. That's where you learn. That's where you grow. That's where things start to make sense again. Not perfectly, not permanently, but enough to move forward. This isn't about being right. It's about seeing clearly and being willing to change your mind when it matters. So don't bet against the ones who question things, especially when they question themselves. This is Chasing Common Ground. All right, so welcome back to the Chasing Common Ground podcast. And I have to say, this year again has been a busy year. I haven't recorded as many episodes, so I've been a lot more selective of my guests, which makes it that much more exciting to bring Anne onto the show. So Anne, introduce yourself to my audience. Some people might not know who you are. Some people might know who you are, but just a general background of how you show up to a room kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Anne. I live in Victoria, British Columbia, so fellow Canadian. I have two businesses in sort of the fitness and health space. One, which is Fettle Food, and that's kind of the nutrition kind of coaching arm of things. We have a registered dietitian, nutrition coaches. We do virtual, hybrid, and in-person options. And then I am co-owner of a personal training gym in Victoria as well, which is a smaller sort of private facility. Everything's personal training and semi-private.
I love it. And so the way that I'm going to structure this episode is going to be very direct. We're going to try and tackle some of the things that I think might be helpful for people to learn, plus some of the life experiences that tie into why you do things the way that you do it, or where you learned it from, or who influenced you. So
Sure.
one of the first things that I wanted to highlight is your ability to kind of just do organic outreach and community building. I know it's hard to tell exactly how it goes through the internet, but from what I can tell, you do a really good job of just working with other companies, other organizations, other businesses to expand the reach of your businesses.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if anyone goes and checks out my Instagram, it's a solid C- effort, I would say, most things on social media and online. Mostly because it's not having a brick and mortar and hybrid style programs in communities where you literally can walk by and see our signage. I've always just kind of been a little more of hit the pavement and built businesses based on the people in front of me and the community that I'm in. More important to me to be that 5 mile famous than 500,000 mile famous online, because most of those people aren't going to be the people that I'm serving anyways. The online stuff has, or just kind of organically grown a bit as the businesses have grown, but really at the end of the day, over 90% of both businesses is people in our community who we serve. And so that's just where I see the opportunities. And I'm a really big community builder, whether it's our community in the gym or my running communities, my women's strength communities, what I've done with some of my clients, we do adventure travel. I'm just really big on spending time and putting energy and effort into the people that are in front of me face to face, and staring at a computer screen all day just isn't going to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's the reason I asked the question is there's a lot of things I'm trying to tap into myself. I've done a lot of community building in the past, but I'm looking to do it even more with the people I train in person, and even just kind of the community that I form around myself with the online kind of exercise demo stuff that I put out there. I've started to notice people will follow, and they are kind of creating a workout program on their own without me even knowing, just by saving a bunch of posts. The things that you do that I think really stand out is you're just boots on the ground. You're shoulder to shoulder with people doing stuff. You're very active and engaged in the things. It's never that you don't have time for things. You always have time for things. So where do you find all the time to be involved in all that stuff?
I think one of the most like impressive things is when the busiest people you know are the easiest to get a hold of and the most
Yeah.
responsive. I just find that is like, and that has always been something that really sticks with me is like, yes, I'm busy. Yes, I've got a lot going on between these businesses, the teams, my own training. I have a 4-year-old daughter, friends, like all those things. But I don't know. I think part of it is just like an innate skill that I've just always been able to handle a lot and handle a lot really well. It's actually one of the reasons why I really struggled working for other people was the pace at which other people do things was very, very slow for me. And I always felt like I could just get everything done and then I would just be sitting there and or waiting for other people. And I would get really frustrated. And so that's kind of, I think, one of the big things that really like led me into more of like that entrepreneurship style is that like I get to dictate the pace.
Mhm.
And like I had a mentor one time, like he's like, you're driving a car like flawlessly at 100, just like doing all these things. And just like, but he also was coming at it as like, remember the people that are working for you, some might do that, but some might not. And so he was really helpful in like teaching me a little bit about like managing other people who, now that it's flipped, that aren't going to be at your pace or at your capacity or different things like that. So for me, I think it's like it's like personal leadership and having systems for yourself, and actually systems that you stick to. I'm a very routine and structured person. I do love like new novelty, adventure and things like that. But in my day to day, like I wake up at the same time, I read, I do my Spanish lesson, I check my, like I have these little systems that I'm using constantly that I think help me be efficient through the day. But I think there's just part of it that's like just kind of who I am, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. One of the things that is prominent in your social media is your collaborations with those local radio DJs. I think they're on the radio, right?
Yeah.
So how
Yeah.
how did that start, and what are the things that you've done to make that continue to be beneficial for both parties? Because the radio industry has gone through some struggles. There's a lot that they've had to innovate and get creative with making their stuff profitable all the same, but it seems like you guys have a good collaboration going.
Yeah, we do. I love them. I think just at the like I can share the story about how that all kind of came to, but really it just like my biggest advice for people is just like shoot your shot. Like put yourself out there and ask, like be okay being rejected. Because if you go out there with like 100 asks, 20 of them will come back as yeses. Yeah, 80 are gonna be no's, but 20 will be yeses. And those are 20 yeses that you wouldn't have had. And
Hmm.
like people need and business owners need to practice being rejected.
Yeah.
For business growth, for sales, like being in a sales consult and knowing that some people are going to like practice people more reps, like people saying no to you, right? How do you handle that? How do you respond? How do you follow up? Practice. Like I've done some things when I was practice, like I went through this like like 2 years ago, year and a half ago, I went through this where I was like, I'm going to practice being rejected. And I just would like I went and I was buying a mountain bike and I was like, I'm going to ask for $1,000 off this mountain bike. And I was like, hey, this brand is going into receivership. I did some research. This brand's going into receivership. So like, what's the ongoing like warranty with this bike? And they were like, well, we really don't know. And I was like, well, will you, instead of 3,000, will you take 2,000 for it? And he said, yes. Well, I was like, I could have just bought the $3,000 mountain bike, but I got it. But you just gotta like put yourself out there. And like, I think that goes through lots of things. So I took Bailey for coffee and I wanted to get her advice on some public relations and media stuff. I knew her husband through a mutual connection. And then we got chatting, we were talking, we hit it off. And I was looking for some people to kind of like ambassador style my women's 8-week cohort program, which is like a strength and nutrition program, and do some like posts and things about it. And I was like, hey, would you do this? Like, and just asked, and she said yes, and she started the program. And then she came to me and asked about the collab on the radio after, because she thought the program was so great. So
That's awesome.
put yourself out there and shoot your shot.
Yeah, well, I mean, if people go back through the episodes of my podcast when it started out as the Lifestyle Chase, that was the beginning origins. A lot of the people that I interviewed were people that weren't even in the fitness industry, people I'd never talked to before. And I was like, let's just see if I can talk to this NHL player, or let's see if I can talk to this radio DJ. And so, like, you make a good point, and it kind of makes me realize I should tap into some of the things that I used to do. But the thing that I've noticed in your work is you're also very good at team building. And it seems it presents as though you are very selective in who you put on your team in terms of whether it's coaches, whether it's admin, anything. So what is your process for that? Do you have sort of like personality traits that you look for or anything like that?
Yeah, big time. So I'm like a big like team sports background. Like I basketball player growing up, age 10 to 22. I've been on a team for as long as I can remember. And we sort of like operate in that very like sports team style operation. So people who've played team sports typically do well in our environments. And so that is something that it's not like a hard, you have to have played team sports or we're not even gonna look at your resume, but like I do find the people that excel in our environments that we've created in these businesses is people who have been on teams and understand that dynamic. Even though working one-on-one with clients and different things, but the way that the management and operations and systems is very like sports team sort of operate, like how we operate. So that is a big piece of it, I find, is when people have had that team sports background, a little bit of like can walk the line of like being an awesome genuine human, but like can just teeter that like competitive asshole just a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
Not too far that way, but just can like walk that line really good, then that's like the perfect fit for sure for me anyway.
Yeah.
A little bit of arrogance, just like a little bit. But yeah, for me it's like I look at the resume when like resumes come in or people reach out or different things like that. I like to see what their sort of athletic team sports or whatever that sort of background is. I like it when people have like kind of like weird quirky hobbies as well. I think that like makes people interesting to talk to. And usually I don't always like, unless it's like a really big red flag, like I do a social media check. And if your social media page looks like an OnlyFans page, I'm sorry, you're not getting an interview with me. But other than that, if it's like pretty, like, things kind of check the boxes for the most part, I just want to have a conversation with them and see sort of like how they interact. What, do they come prepared? Do they know anything about the company, or are they just like mass throwing resumes out there? And just, yeah, how they interact, because I do think such a big part of our job is the relationship and the connection. And if you can't build relationships with people, we're really big on that. We're big on community, we're big on relationships. If you can't do that well, probably not going to be a good fit in these environments. And then from there, on the gym side of things, it's about 40 hours of shadowing before we'll sign paperwork.
Yeah.
And they really, really get a sense of how are you on the training floor? How you interact? Are you doing the little things? Because we're really big on the little things, saying hello and goodbye to everyone who walks into the gym, shaking everyone's hand the first time you meet them. If you can't do that, I don't really want you part of my team. Like, are you helping? Are you cleaning up things? Like, are you a team player? That shadowing week or two really shows a lot, and then helps us really make the decision if we're going to hire them. On the nutrition side, it's a bit trickier because you don't get to see the people doing the work. You know what I mean? Yeah. So usually but you also, the nice thing about nutrition is we can slow drip clients. So usually it's a little more of like, I spend lots of time with them. Like, let's go for coffee a couple times a week. Let's chat. Let's check in, sending over plans before it is. So that those first 3 months, there's a lot of oversight and a lot of conversations and a lot of one-on-ones with me before we kind of phase that out. And I know they're kind of doing well and flourishing.
That's awesome. With regards to building a team, at what point did you realize that you needed to start delegating things out?
Too late.
What was that moment like? Like, what were the emotions? What was life like? What was happening?
So I used to have this other company called, it completely flopped. It was called Ballsy Foods, and it was a protein ball company. And we would have kind of like protein ball flavors and names that kind of had like a nod to like a cheeky, like sexual innuendo kind of. There'd be like blue balls and like salty balls. I thought it was good when it started, but then COVID happened and it was a lot. But to me, like there was one time when I remember I was driving around Victoria on a Sunday after I'd spent 3 hours making little protein balls in this kitchen, because you have to use a food safe kitchen when you have a food company. Driving around and I'm just crying. Like I'm crying in my drive around Victoria, delivering these little sachets of protein balls to all the people who ordered them. I make like 500, 700 balls some Sundays, every Sunday. And at this point, I'm working every day of the week. Like I'm training, I'm on the training floor 30, 40 hours. I'm doing still doing sales and consults. I'm building the nutrition piece. I have no one working for me, like on the nutrition side. I'm doing everything. And it was just like, I was at the point where I was like, I don't have I don't have time, capacity, or mental space to like step outside of like what this could look like, where this is going, anything like that. So I just started stripping stuff off. So protein ball company gone, hired an admin. Like, and I just started doing that. One of my clients who's a very successful like wealth manager gave me this, it was a book and a workbook called, I think it was like the Strategic Coach or something, I forget, Unique Ability. And so it was like I went through this process, I read the book, and then I went through the workbook where it gave me the task of like I kept this workbook with me for an entire month, and I wrote down everything I did, every task, personally, professionally, everything that I did over the whole month, because there's some stuff you do daily, weekly, monthly, right? Captured it all. And then there was like this 4 quadrant, like that on the page. And it was like, I put things in 4 buckets. So it was like, these are the things that I'm like really good at, I love doing, they jazz me up. No one can do them as good as me. These are my superpowers. These are the things I'm really good at, like the next phase down. And then it's like, these are the things that I'm like pretty good at, but other people can definitely do them just as good. And then these are the things that I'm like, I hate, I procrastinate, they don't bring me joy, and I'm not that good at, right? Hence why I hired you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to touch it. I don't even want to know. Don't care. Just do it. I trust you. Just send me an invoice. That's that bucket. And then that basically I just made a job out of for someone. And then I just was like, this is the job description that I need to hire. And then I've just, through the years, I've just worked away. So now I'm only hanging up in that top area. Anytime something comes through that's in that bottom area, I just immediately outsource it. It's outsourced, it's delegated. I will pay the rate, whatever it needs to be.
Yep. I like that. Within your hiring decisions, who has been the hire that's been closest to your circle, someone that you knew the most, even if you just barely knew them?
Do you mean like hiring like someone I already knew?
Yeah.
2 people. So Elisa and Heather, who both work for me on the nutrition side, they are as clients.
Okay, what was that process like to kind of like shift from like knowing them in one context to having them like accountable to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think, well, Elisa started as a client and has evolved into a friend, and she also owns a gym. So we're very like peer to peer. There's a lot of respect there. We look up to each other in different ways and things like that, and we have a really good dynamic. With Heather, it was a bit different because we met in going to like a gym class together. We started hanging out a bit, and then she became a client. So she was kind of like friend into client and then to hiring. And I think, yeah, it definitely like does change the dynamic a bit for sure. But again, like her and I have just always, there's a lot of respect there. I think we've done it really well, where we like, my thing is like making sure there's like buckets of time for different purposes. So it's like when we do our one-on-one or work one-on-one, it isn't like chit-chatting about too much other things other than like a couple minutes of just like, hey, how you doing? Like, haven't talked to you in a couple of days, like what's going on, that kind of thing. But I would do that with all my people who work with me that were kind of rapport building. But we keep our kind of work stuff, and then there'll be times we'll be like, hey, let's go do this together. And it's like, this is not really like, there might be like a couple things that happen, we chat about work, but it's like the purpose is like social and friendship versus a work one-on-one or like our strategic planning meeting, like those kinds of things. So I think it's like making sure you kind of keep those buckets and you're not just trying to like only do work or vice versa, I think would be probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah, I like that. I want to pause this conversation for a second, and it's not to shift gears, but just to acknowledge something. The store at store.invigoratetraining.com isn't really just about merch. It's my way of staying connected with this community of people who's followed along with me throughout my 20s and now into my mid-30s. You'll find women's fitted racerbacks with the line, "I might look normal, but deep down I question why I agreed to do 40 push-ups per day." Because sometimes humor comes after you've done the work. And there's the legacy CL gear, the hat and the toque that you see me wearing all the time, along with t-shirts that say, "Don't bet against the quiet ones." Because often the underdogs are the biggest game changers in life. There are custom shoes that I designed myself with the mantra, "Stay kind, stay strong, keep going," built right into the design. And there's also Park Far Away Club stickers and reusable bags for all your shopping needs. Additionally, I've created a line of fully human apparel, a reminder that self-improvement isn't just a one-size-fits-all template, it's personal. If we were all the exact same, we'd never truly be human. All pricing on the website is in Canadian dollars, shipping is inclusive, and your orders are often shipped domestically. This helps avoid tariffs or extra fees. This store exists because of you, and my career exists because of you. I'm genuinely grateful you're here. I'm grateful for all the people who work with me, and I'm so excited that we get to build something meaningful together. If anything here resonates, you can find it at my store at store.invigoratetraining.com. And thank you for being part of my world. And then you kind of outlined rapport building, and I can imagine this kind of trickles over to just about everybody that you work with on your team. If that is true, how does it pop up where you're able to kind of do it on a recurring basis? I'll give an example. Sometimes businesses will start up and they do a lot of fun little events, and then it kind of drops off, and you start to notice like people will be less fulfilled, they'll feel less purpose, they'll feel less connection. So what is something that you do to kind of keep that spark alive if you integrate anything into your yearly operations?
Yeah, definitely. I think, well, it definitely, like, I think in any business, I don't think anybody does it perfectly, and it ebbs and flows, right? For sure.
Mhm.
So there are like there's one-on-ones that happen every week. So there's that touch point with coaches. And then just from like the more casual stance, like I will go sit in the coaches room twice a week and do blocks of work back there. So I purposely go out of my office, I sit back there and I'll be on my computer. I might even join a meeting, different things like that. But I'm back there and just catch those like quick conversations and things. And then we do plan like external things as well. So with Fettle, because we work a little bit more in silos with our clients and we don't see each other all the time, whereas like training, we're like on the training floor together, right? So like we're
Yeah.
interacting. There's a lot of like fun that just kind of happens throughout the day. But with Fettle, we don't do that. It's like, oh, you're like lives in the office from 12 to 4, and then Heather's in there from 4 to 8. And it's just like, high five, see you later, right? There's not very much like engagement. So we do a quarterly meeting together where we book out a space, we bring in lunch, we just like really have like a ton of catch up, we talk about the business and clients, and we do some education and learning. But we have that standpoint, and then we have Heather has the role of like CEM, which is client experience manager. We have one for the gym and one for Fettle, but part of that is like some events and some like engagement stuff. So whether that's like, hey, we're gonna put on like a group hike, but we'll all also come out and maybe we'll grab a drink after, or things like that. Like we're going to all go to a show together in September as well. So I try to just find things throughout the year where we're doing that. And then for me with Fettle, I'll like make sure I spend time with Heather. I spend time with Elisa. I spend time with Janie. I spend time with Liv, like individually doing something where I'm like, I'm going to take you and we're going to go to the spa for a half day, or I'm going to take you and let's go for lunch. And we like find those moments as well.
Mhm.
Big one is like team workouts is a really big one. So we kind of do like team workouts together. And that's where like Liam typically leads those. And that's just like, it's just, I think when you like do something hard together, it creates that like bonding as well. So we do, as well as part of our team, like everyone has physical challenges as well that they have to be including in their personal planning. And so like whenever a teammate is doing their physical, like we're all at the finish line. Like Callum, one of our guys, he's running a 50K trail race in September, and like we'll be at the finish line for him and like have a party there for him, right? So we like do that. We've done some like travel races with coaches, stuff like that as well.
I like that. I think that's important, and it's cool to hear how it's modeled in your business. The other thing that I wanted to bridge towards for my next question is you're part of like a mentorship where you're learning alongside a lot of other gym owners. What was the key moment where you realized like this, I need this, and what were your two biggest takeaways from it in your involvement so far?
Yeah, I've been doing mentorship programs since 2022. Yeah, 2022. So it's been over 4 years. And I've, even before that, I definitely had like informal mentors, like people I was like seeking support and help from in kind of a one-on-one setting. But 2022 was the first time I signed up for an actual like mentorship program. And I felt like I like found my tribe a bit of like people. I was like, these people like are dealing with similar problems to me. It's hard to talk to your friend who works like an 8 to 4 for the government about like her problems or like, oh my God, my like whatever lease negotiations or things like that. It's just different. Like you just don't. So I really found that like I found my people. I work really well in like programs when things are like laid out for me and I'm like, these are the tasks I need to do and this is the outcome. Like I work well with structure like that. So yeah, I liked showing up to the calls. I liked asking questions. I liked the community. I liked finding those, like building those relationships with the other people in the program. So I knew that like for me, I always needed and wanted something like this in my life. And some of the people that I have here locally that are mentors are like connected to this business or businesses, which again is great and fine. But I liked the idea of like having something that was like completely like third party. Like there's no like they are 100% impartial. There's no like investment, there's no emotional investment to me or like the businesses, anything like that. I thought that was like really beneficial to have this like outside sort of community that I was part of. And so the one that I'm in now, which is the Built to Last with Andy and Luca, the thing with that one that really like drew me towards it was I was kind of looking for like something new, just like something new where I could learn some different things. And I really gravitated towards the dynamic of the two of them because I feel like oftentimes there's like this one person and they're really good at like this and whatever, right? But then they're just Andy and Luke are just like so different and they have like they just bring really two different things to the table that I like. Like sometimes I'll go to Luca if I want something, and sometimes I go to Andy, right? But I really like. Yeah, I liked their vibe. I liked the combination of the two of them, and yeah, it just was a good fit. And from there, it's been the group to me too. It's the relationships within the group that have like kept that so strong as well. Like a couple of my like now like best friends are people in that group who I talk to them more than I talk to like some people in my family, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's amazing how connections can be so formative in trajectory. Like for myself, like a lot of people at the Real Coaches Summit, I either have helped them in some way or we work together on something, and it feels more um like a grassroots collaborative effort than it does like a transaction kind of thing. It's like everybody's helping each other be better. And if it's a significant energy exchange, then there's some kind of transfer of some sort. But it's just like people undervalue how important connection is. Another thing that you brought up earlier was just ensuring that people are taking the time to like shake hands with their new clients or just smile at people or make time to be physically present. I think that can be applied to just about everything. But one other thing that I wanted to highlight while we're going over all this stuff is the travel experiences that you're putting out with the gym. What kind of sparked the inspiration behind that? And what are the details? Like if somebody's listening to this podcast and they're like, well, how do I get on board with that? How would they get on board?
Yeah. It's been like the gym that I was working at before, it was part of what we did there too. And it's just been that like I like that niche of like getting people outside of the gym that like to have experiences that change their life because the like training, putting something on the calendar, training for something, having something that's like experiential is so much more powerful than like I'm gonna lose 5 inches off my waist or I'm gonna lift a little bit heavier deadlift. Like I don't know. It's just personally, like, I love getting people to like have those experiences and be on those trips with them and see them like conquer crazy shit is super rewarding as a coach and a friend. And to be able to facilitate that and make that part of our community is just really impactful for me. And like I kind of mentioned at the beginning, like I love adventure and travel and like that novelty piece and having those experiences, pairing that with a community of people I love is just like, it's such a win-win. But yeah, usually what we do is have 1 to 2 kind of bigger like international or big trip adventures that are kind of on the calendar. Our partner is Adventure Desk. So Matt owns Adventure Desk. It's a Canadian company. He is kind of my guy where I'm like, this is my crazy idea. He just like helps me make it happen. Like he goes and does all the like the bookings and gets way better rates than I would get on stuff. He builds me a website like for the sales page and just coordinates and basically just sends me the stuff. So I've got the itinerary and the like the bookings and stuff. So I can just go be an awesome host for that trip with my people. But yeah, so that's kind of, we actually this time of year, August is when we do our planning for the next year. So we're planning 2027 now. So we do, like I said, 1 to 2 really big trips. And then on top of that, we do a couple other smaller ones. So we'll do some like, we're on Vancouver Island. So we usually do like a backpacking trip, like a 3 to 4 day, like backpacking trip on the island. We'll do some day hikes. We'll do some different things like that as well. So we usually have something happening every couple months. That's like a trip people can like sign up for or train for. And yeah, it's like, it's such amazing experiences. Like we had this one guy, so we did a backpacking trip on the island a couple of weeks ago, and it was like 4 days. They canoed in 25K, hiked 16K to Della Falls, which is the largest waterfall in Canada, and then camped there and stuff, and then came out. And one of the guys, he had been with us since last fall, so coming up on a year now, he's lost 80 pounds. He had all the gear and they're hiking in and he was like, I never thought I'd be able to use this gear again. And he's like, my pack weighs half of the weight I lost. And it's just like, we get to help people like literally like new lease on life. You know what I mean? Like he had all this stuff in storage that he never thought he would get to use again. And because we are not just the training and the nutrition program and all that stuff and the coaching, but we have that like community and the trips where he can then like be in the middle of that hike and be like, holy shit, like, look at what I've done over the last 8 months. Like, it's just super cool. But yeah, I highly recommend more people do this. I think trips and events is like really fucking scary to host because it's like you're hosting a party and you're like, is anybody going to show up?
Yeah.
And be like very intimidating. And it's just easier to be like, no, I'm just not going to do it. Right. But especially for the people who have like online businesses, like, what a beautiful way to take your online community and like create those like relationships and connections in person. People want to do this stuff. Like this is like you get the people who just like love you and love what you do. Like I have people who come on it doesn't even matter where we go, but they're coming every year.
Yeah.
They did, like we're doing a 70K hut to hut in Iceland next July. And I've got one girl who's coming on that trip. She has come on like 4 trips with me. I've traveled more with her than my own husband. But it's like, it's so awesome. We've had so many cool experiences. We've biked across Costa Rica together. We've hiked to Alaska and back. Like, it's just so amazing. So yeah, I love them for like, it's that community piece, it's relationships, it's like getting people training for something, anchoring something to something in the calendar from a business standpoint. Like for the people who are business owners listening, like if you have a client who signed up for a trip 18 months away, do you think they're going to leave?
Nope.
No, they're not going anywhere. That is like retention, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some people don't like to travel. It's not their jam, like totally cool. But yeah, I think it's great.
I mean, for me, I'm a big fan of travel and I try to instill in people like the value that comes from traveling, like the one-on-one conversations you have when you're climbing up a mountain and you kind of getting a little bit tired, or just like the fireside chats or the dinner conversations. And it's when you travel with like clients or community, there's so much to be learned that is yet to be learned because of the environment and what that facilitates. And I think for a lot of people, it's just their risk tolerance, their ability to just do it without worrying about what the consequences could be. Like maybe they would have to postpone the trip, or maybe they won't get as many attendees as they want, but they won't know unless they try. But yeah, there's the next question that I have for you might be a tough one to answer, but we're going to give it our best shot. So the question is, what are 2 things that went wrong and that kind of humbled you or left you with life lessons, and how did you overcome?
Yeah. So I'll tie one to the trip stuff. So one thing I've learned over the years of doing this is, like, I had one year where Matt came to me and was like, "Hey, I'm getting really great prices on Machu Picchu trips. We should do a Machu Picchu trip with your community." And I was like, "All right, sounds good." Machu Picchu is not on my list. It's not like a necessarily like a bucket. Like, sure, it'd be cool to go, but it's not something that I've been like, I'm dying to go there. And it flopped, and I had to cancel the trip because I had 2 people sign up, and we needed 8 to make it go. And so that was a huge one for me, where I had to like stop and be like, okay, like anytime something doesn't go well, I always take some time to like reflect and be like, okay, where did this go wrong? Whatever. I didn't sell it well because I wasn't excited about it. Like so like I think with the adventure travel stuff and events and all that kind of stuff, like if you have a good community around you and it's something like you're super jazzed about, like people will just gravitate towards it and you. And so that's something that I've learned and what I've been talking to my team about as they're stepping up to like lead trips and do things. I'm like, don't pick something you think you should pick just because it's like there, because you Googled best hikes on Vancouver Island or something like that, right? It's like,
Yeah.
that like you're stoked about, because people feel that. Like you probably felt that energy of me talking about adventure travel. I felt it. I was like, I'm pumped. Like, let's talk about this. This excites me. Right. So like when I'm talking about a trip that I'm pumped about, or I plan that, people are like, yeah, I don't even know where that is, but I'm going. Like, with the adventure travel stuff is like, it's got to be something you're excited about. And it just makes this like the getting people signed up for it and getting them, like the people showing up for the party to come, right? Like one of the first trips I did back after having my daughter was Chilkoot Trail, which is a trail that is, you basically hike from like northern BC to Alaska and back. And we got like float planed in. It was super cool. It was like something for me that I was like, I want to do this trail so bad. I really want to go to Whitehorse, the Yukon, and I want to do this trail. And I had people who like literally were like, I don't even know where we're going, what we're doing, what the plan is, but they like signed up and paid the deposit because they felt the energy and the excitement that I had about it. And I'm out there doing cool shit, right? I'm running ultras, I'm traveling. So they're like, I want to come do some of that stuff with you, right? So I think that was a big one for me of just like learning that's like with the adventure travel, like it's, what are you excited about doing? And people will follow. And so I've been stuck true to that. And all the trips I've done since then have been like people like sold out a year in advance kind of thing. So that's one big one. The second one is like hiring out of scarcity and not aligning with values and just hiring from like a spot of scarcity and like stress. Every time I've done that, and yes, I've made that mistake a couple times, and I vowed, I put that in my annual plan this year. I was like, do not hire out of scarcity or stress.
Mm-hmm.
It has never worked. So anytime I've been in a position where I've just been like, I'm up here because I'm like, oh my God, like someone's leaving, or someone puts like a really shitty 2 weeks notice in, or different things like that, whatever it is, something happens. And I don't go through the process of like fully like validating or feeling like 100% confident with them, it always ends up bad. So I've definitely like made that mistake a couple times. I hired a nutrition coach. I was really looking for like this was back in I don't even remember now, 2021, maybe. The years all blend together. 2022, because I remember interviewing her with a baby, because I had just had my daughter.
Yeah.
Because I had to let I had someone who was taking a lot of my clients, had to let them go, different things like that. But anyways, I was like, I really see this vision of like, especially in Canada, of like having a registered dietitian facilitating nutrition coaching, because then we can give their like receipts back. I just like had this plan since like 2020. And I just was like, I started trying to find this person. And I hired a girl, and I went off of the fact that she played basketball at the same university I played at. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. She's from the Maritimes. We played basketball at the same university. She's out here now. This is wild. Like, what a coincidence. And we had a great conversation. I didn't do enough due diligence. I didn't do my homework. I didn't do enough background checking. I didn't spend enough time with her because I had a new baby. And the whole thing blew up. She lied to me for 6 months. We falsified her designation. I had to comp $15,000 in nutrition coaching packages that I had to coach myself. It was like such a crazy, like, she wasn't doing the check-ins that she said she was doing. It was like a madness 6 months. So then I basically had to come back like full time with a 6-month-old baby. And it was just like, so yeah, I think like most people probably have war stories like that when they've been in business long enough. But that's another big one, is like hiring from a place of scarcity and just not taking the time to do that due diligence and spend the time with new hires. So like time with team is super important.
Yeah, I mean, when you describe that, it makes me think of what I have learned to do, and it's just being calm in the eye of the storm. Like, everything could be chaotic. People could be asking a lot. There could be a lot of pressure, but the best way to face is to be calm. So I'll be over here queuing up like Hans Zimmer, playing like instrumental music and just like calming myself down. Because even if I have a lot of people to take care of or a lot of responsibilities, it's going to be a lot better calm than under a crisis kind of thing. What
Mhm.
are the things that you have learned to do to kind of keep that calmness in place for yourself, knowing that you're human and you might slip up from time to time?
Oh yeah, we all do. Definitely like prioritize my like sleep, eating, and training. Like those like non-negotiables. My schedule is now in a place that's like quite not overloaded, I will say, in terms of like the support and the people I have around me. I've been in those times where I felt like I'm just like, Anne's just always rushing around from like client to client, to do list to do list. Like I spent years in that space of just like go, 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 go. And I'm still pretty go, go, go person, but I definitely know the feelings of like what my day feels like when it's 12 hours jam packed with no breaks, to when I have breathing room, thinking room, time to like just walk and grab a coffee for 30 minutes and like sit in the back and talk to a coach or call a friend. Like those are all things I was able to do today because I had 2 meetings, this, and 2 clients on my schedule. I've done a lot of other work, but I was able to walk and get a coffee. I had a phone call with my friend this morning for 30 minutes. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I feel like making sure that I protect space in my day, whether something comes up and I actually need to like fill that with work, or I just have time to think and breathe, walk outside for a bit, those kinds of things makes a really big difference to me personally. And then I factor in, I'm not a big like self-care person, but I do factor in like a few things. Like I get my nails done every 3 weeks and I just like block that off in my schedule. Like it's technically like working day time, but I do that at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. I do this, like, I have a membership at this place. It's called Ritual, and it's like kind of like hot and cold, but I have like the membership that I can go 2 times a month for 2 hours. And it's just like a 5-minute walk from the gym. And so like, I just make sure that's on my, like things like that. So I just block off like space where I can go, like, that's a big one for me, where I go with like a notebook and a book and I do the hot cold circuit. And then I sit for like 45 minutes, an hour. And then I spend the other hour just sitting in a chair, reading and writing and thinking. And because you're not allowed to have your phone. So stuff like that, really useful for me personally. It's like learning that I need time to think, as I've evolved from like the person in the business doing everything to the person who now like I need to think more like strategically and like as a leader and things like that. So I figured like that gives me the space to do that. I struggled in that middle ground for a really long time of like how to move towards that and how to actually give myself time during the day to do that. I also have an amazing assistant who like runs my calendar and my life really well.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it in action, and that
Yes.
little variable makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Now, I got 2 more questions before we're
Mhm.
all wrapped up. The second last question is, with the connections you made in your life, If we were to eliminate a connection from fitness, nutrition spaces, and maybe even technically business spaces, they might be in business, but it wasn't because you connected them through your business. Who are two people that you came across randomly that had a big impact? And you might not know their name or you might not share their name, but maybe just describe the impact that they had and how you met them and what came from it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the first being Jeff Dallin. He was the first guy who hired me as a trainer with no experience. And like I was working a marketing job. Hired me with no experience, full-time trainer. Just, the person who taught me to swim is like how I'll describe him, and has been and will be a lifelong mentor, very much like a brother to me now as well, business partner at the gym and like all that stuff. And yeah, so definitely him, probably massive impact on my personal growth and who I am as a leader. Most of my leadership learnings and things like that have come from him.
Mm-hmm.
And for sure. I definitely want to. I think the second one for me more recently, like I've got one that's like more recent and one kind of another one if I can have three and break the rule, is Andy for sure. He's someone who, when you meet people and you just click and you're just
Yeah.
like chemistry of just like, oh, like we get along. Like this is a good vibe. You're someone I want to spend more time with. You're someone I want to work with. You're someone that I want to, yeah. Like, so and he's kind of someone who I think is, when I have like a problem, like a problem, like he's kind of the first person that comes to mind where I'm like, I need help solving this. I'm going to call Andy. I'm going to send Andy a voice note.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I also I kind of have, I don't know if you do this or like other people who are listening do this, but I have like a person, like I call it like my personal board of directors. Like I'm a company that's a board of
Yeah.
directors.
Yeah.
Like there's people on that and they have different seats, and like Jeff is on there, Andy's on there, my friend and like a local mentor Rob is on there, someone that I lean on and communicate with a lot, things like that. So I've got like this crew, but the other person would probably be like going way in my past is my university basketball coach, because I played for him. He recruited me when I was in high school, played for him my first year. And I was struggled a lot in my like last year of high school and first year of university. I struggled a lot with my body image, under eating. There was a death that I went through in high school that really affected me and I didn't really deal with it well. And Derek, who had recruited me to play, he was the first person in my life after 2 years of me really, really struggling, to sit me down and like confront me about it and talk to me about it and like help me navigate through it. And he passed away, actually like a couple weeks after the end of that first season. And that whole experience of like having someone like, it was the first person who like really, other than certain situations like my parents, but like sat me down and had a hard conversation with me, like showed me what that experience was like of like sitting in the discomfort with somebody who really cares about you. That was my first experience of a situation like that, when someone comes to you and has that like super hard conversation, brings things forward to you and like sits in the discomfort with you and helps you work through it. Looking back at it now, at the time these weren't things that I was thinking about, but and then having him pass away and navigating another death at a young age of someone who was very influential in my life was like a really big turning point for me. It's where I was able to kind of like, okay, this is when this first experience happened, I acted this way for 2 years and really spiraled. This is happening again. Do I continue this path or do I do this? Do I course correct? Do I take this help? Do I like go this path and like do it this way? And I did it that way. And like things progressed for me. I stayed playing basketball. I stayed on the basketball team and excelled there and like had all those great experiences. But like that for me, I think if that experience didn't happen and that conversation and that time with him didn't happen, I don't know if I would have, like, if I kept going that way, would I be where I am today? Probably not, to be honest.
I like that, and there's a lot of relatability to your examples. Like a lot of my influences are from very similar moments in life. So I hope that people realize that like sometimes we have to slow down and look around us and look for these moments where we might be crossing paths with people and our time might be limited. So don't take it for granted. Now, the final question I have for you is this is one that I started asking people when I started the podcast back in the earlier episodes in 2018. And it is if you were to give one piece of advice to someone on how to live their life to the fullest in the most authentic way, what would that piece of advice be?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I think it's like going to be a bit different for everybody because I think we're all different. And like if you're saying like be authentic to who you are, I think spending time learning who you are and having confidence in the things that you love to do and that you are, and like really just taking time to like learn about yourself as a human and how you tick and how you operate and what fills your cup. Because I can share like what does that for me and like how I live my life to the fullest, but that might not resonate with everyone. So, but I've spent a lot of time with mentors, with reading books. I've hired behavioral psychologists. I've done a lot of work to figure out exactly who I am. And I'm very confident in who I am. And I love myself. And so it allows me to live my life very, very with a cup very full every single day. So I think, I know that maybe as a cop out, but I think it's like taking the time and accessing the resources to truly learn who you are so that you can just live that life every day.
And honestly, I think if people don't get what they need from that piece of advice, that means that they haven't done the work necessary. Maybe it's that they haven't tried um, bringing somebody else into their world or reading a certain book or taking a long walk in the forest or something like that.
Totally. Like my husband and I are completely opposite humans. Like we were sitting there, it was last night actually, we were watching Alone. I don't know if you ever watched that show. Where
Just a little bit.
they drop people off in like crazy places and then they have like 20 items and they have to survive for as long as possible. And we're watching this show and I looked at him, I'm like, I feel like you could do this. Like you could just like get dropped off in the woods for 90 days and like not talk to another human. Me, if I'm like 20 minutes and I'm like, I haven't talked to anybody, I'm gonna go crazy. Like, I'm such like an extrovert that I love being around people jazzes me up. Like take me to a 300-person conference or like a 25,000-person concert and I'm like so jazzed up. I have so much energy. Whereas like he needs like a week alone in the woods and then he's like, okay, I feel rejuvenated. I was like, I would have gone crazy. Like I love being in the woods, but I love trail running. I'll go for a 24-hour trail run as long as I have someone to talk to.
Yeah, I like that.
So I think, like know who you are. So spend time, especially if you're younger, if you're in your 20s. Like I was not this way at 26. Like I'm 36 years old. It's taken me a while, but like spend the time, spend the money, ask the people, shoot your shot, ask for people to go for coffee that you admire, that are living the life that you want to live. Like spend time with people living the life you want to live. Like that
Yeah.
maybe is like more one, like kind of one line piece of advice. Like that's something I think I've always done for 10-12 years is like accessing people around me living the life I want. Like that's admirable. Like I have a client, he's like yeah, I'm going to take 3 months and go to Mexico. And I'm like, let's talk. How did you get there? How were you there
Yeah.
at 50? I want to be able to take 3 months off and go to Mexico when I'm 50. So like, finding the people who are living the life you want to live and accessing them for information. And most people are willing to give it.
I want to pause here for a second because this connects directly to the kind of conversations that we have on this show. Chasing common ground has never been about hacks, shortcuts, or chasing attention. It's about long-term thinking, craft, and building something that actually lasts. And the same philosophy is why I built my podcast course. It's about fundamentals and foundations. How to start a podcast, how to structure it, how to stay consistent, and how to build simple workflows so your show fits into your life instead of competing with it. The course is updated constantly with gear reviews, standard operating procedures, AI tools, and best practices. It's not because things change fast, but because clarity matters. I want to share a quick clip from someone many of you already know about, Andrew Coates. He's a good friend of mine, and he is the host of Live Free and Diet Hard, a published writer, speaker, and longtime coach. Here's what he had to say.
I'm going to give a shout to my producer because he's a beauty. Chris Little, he's the one who does all the back-end stuff. He does all the slides. He's the one who puts together all the ads. And I couldn't do this stuff without him. He's great. He's got his own podcast, but he's also got courses, and he will answer your questions if you guys are literally interested in podcasting. He's great at this stuff. So go check him out. Just search Christian Little on Instagram. I followed him. You'll find him. He's super.
If you're thinking about starting a podcast, or you already have one and want it to feel simpler, more intentional, and more sustainable, you can learn more at christianlittle.com/podcast course. And as a thank you to listeners of Chasing Common Ground, you can save $50 with the code Common Ground, one word, all caps, at checkout. Pricing is in Canadian dollars. Thank you, and now let's get back to the podcast.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I've got a lot of people who have shared things with me, who take time to go on walks with me, that are way further along in life, and time is abundant for them. And if you're an intent listener, they'll give you their time. Well, with that said, thank you very much for your time today, Anne. Is there anywhere that you want me to send people, any websites you want me to send them to?
Yeah, I mean, you can check out the businesses on our website. I am on Instagram. I do check it. I check messages. I don't scroll. I'm not a scroller, so you won't catch me looking at your stuff, but I do respond to messages. So you can reach out to me there, and Chisholm13.
Perfect. And all that stuff will be in the show notes. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.